Good afternoon. Today we will discuss dental plaque. So, as you know, periodontitis is a periodontal disease is nothing but inflammation of the periodontium. So, today how this periodontitis is occurred, how gingivitis converts into periodontitis, and what is the main etiology for this conversion of gingivitis into periodontitis. So, many authors have studied about dental plaque. We have come to a conclusion. Previously, some authors said that there was non-specific plaque hypothesis. We will discuss later. So, in a non-specific hypothesis, it was considered that this whole bacteria are responsible for progression of the disease. Later on, there was shift in paradigm from the specific plaque hypothesis, where it was author claimed that specific bacteria are responsible for the progression of the disease. So today I will be teaching about the main etiology for any periodontal disease, that is dental plaque. So we will see various definitions of dental plaque, then classification of dental plaque, then coming to composition, how dental plaque is formed, then there are various microbial complexes, then criteria for identification of pathogens, and last one is conclusion. So, as you know, periodontal disease is mainly caused, it is a polymicrobial disease. So, many bacteria are responsible for the occurrence of this disease. So, for this, we have to know what is the main etiological factor for occurrence of this disease. So, coming to definitions, various authors have given various definitions of dental plaque. So, according to Bowen, so dental plaque is nothing but it is a soft deposit that forms. So, according to Bowen, it is nothing but it is a soft deposit that forms the biofilm adhering to the tooth surface or other hard tissues in the oral cavity, including the removable and fixed restorations. So, according to Bowen, it is nothing but it is a soft deposit that forms on the biofilm. It may be on the natural tooth surface of the oral cavity, or it may be removable of fixed partial dentures or restorations. So, according to Linde, it is nothing but it is a bacterial aggregation on the tooth or other solid tooth surfaces. So, this is the definition we have to write whenever you are asked about the question dental plaque. It is frequently asked as a long note. So, dental plaque, according to WHO 1961, it is defined as it is a specific but highly variable structural entity resulting from sequential colonization of microorganisms on tooth surface, restorations, and other parts of the oral cavity composed of salivary components like mucin, squamated epithelial cells, debris, and microorganisms, all embedded in an extracellular gelatinous matrix. So this is the definition we have to write when you are asked about dental plaque. So WHO definition, what this definition says, it is a specific, because specific microorganisms are responsible for the occurrence of periodontal disease. But highly variable structure, the structure of these bacteria is highly variable, resulting in colonization of microorganisms on tooth surface, restorations, and other parts of the oral cavity. And it is composed of salivary components like mucin, desquamated epithelial cells, debris, food debris, and microorganisms. And all these are embedded in an extracellular gelatinous matrix. So this is the definition of WHO. So there are another terms, that is you will come across material alba and dental calculus. So dental calculus is somewhat different from dental plaque. So dental calculus is nothing but it is an adherent calcified or calcifying mass that forms on the surface of natural teeth and prostheses. Whatever calcified mass is present around the tooth or prostheses, it is called as dental calculus. next term is material alba. So material alba is nothing but it is just composed of aggregation of microorganisms, leukocytes, and dead epithelial cells randomly organized and loosely adherent to the tooth surface of the tooth, plaque, and gingiva. So material alba usually can be displaced by a spray of water, whereas plaque cannot be displaced with a spray of water. So material alba can be easily displaced with the spray of water. So it is nothing but it is not tightly adherent to the tooth surface. So it can be easily displaced by a spray of water. These are the terms, that is material alba, definition of dental plaque, and now coming to history. So whenever you are writing dental plaque, so you have to write the history of dental plaque. So Leon Williams was the author who first described the dental plaque. So according to uh, Williams, so he was the author who described dental plaque. Then later on, G.B. Black had coined the term gelatinous dental plaque. So gelatinous dental plaque because this plaque was usually composed. The composition usually consists of extracellular gelatinous material. So we termed it as gelatinous dental plaque. Then Warhol in 1950 described the importance of bacterial plaque in the etiology of periodontal disease. So Warhol is considered as the father who has discovered or who has said that there is importance of bacterial plaque in the etiology of progression of disease. So he considered bacterial plaque or dental plaque as the primary etiologic factor for any periodontal disease. So various authors have studied. There were She and Russell. They performed various epidemiological studies, and they had concluded that the positive relation between amount of bacterial plaque and the severity of gingivitis. These authors claim that the amount of deposit bacterial plaque uh, besides the severity of the periodontal disease. So there was a landmark study by Lou et al. In 1965. So this study is considered as the landmark study of plaque, saying that plaque is the main etiologic factor in the progression of periodontal disease. So plaque, this study by Lou and et al. In 1965, they usually studied on dental students. So some students who are asked to perform oral hygiene and some students who are asked not to perform oral hygiene for a period of about 5 years. So this study is considered as the landmark study which specifies that plaque is considered as the main etiologic factor in the progression of periodontal disease. Later on, Warhol described the modern theories of specificity. So, according to Lischel, specific plaque hypothesis came into existence. So, specific plaque hypothesis says that specific microorganisms in the dental plaque are responsible for progression of the disease. Later on, P.D. Marsh in 1994, he said that environment is also responsible factor for the progression of the disease. So he considered this as a ecological plaque hypothesis. Okay, so this is the golden era. Previously, it was said in 19th century that specific pathogens are responsible for specific progression of disease. Later on, non-specific hypothesis plaque came into existence, and then later on, specific plaque hypothesis in the later on after 2000 it considered as a specific plaque hypothesis, and now dental plaque is considered as nothing but it is a biofilm. So now coming to classification of dental plaque. So generally dental plaque according to Glickman it is classified into supragingival and subgingival dental plaque. So supragingival So supragingival dental plaque, it is nothing but it is the dental plaque that is present above the margin of gingiva or gingival margin. So this again is classified into three, that is coronal supragingival plaque, marginal gingival plaque, and fissural type of gingival plaque. Because some tooth, for example, lateral incisors, usually there are palatogingival grooves. So these or some fissures are present. So this they may show have more accumulation of dental plaque. So supragingival is classified into coronal, marginal, and fissural supragingival plaque. Subgingival is classified into three types, that is tooth associated dental plaque, unattached plaque, and tissue associated dental plaque. So subgingival is classified into tooth associated. Tooth associated is nothing but this is the plaque that is present on the tooth surface. Unattached plaque, it is present away from the uh, tooth associated uh, dental plaque, and tissue associated is present usually lines your epithelial circular epithelium, that is the margin of your pocket, periodontal pocket or gingival pocket. So this tissue associated plaque is usually attached to your soft tissue. Okay, so supragingival plaque, so it is found at or above the gingival margin. So whenever it is present at the margin, then it is called as marginal plaque. Whenever supragingival plaque is in direct contact with gingival margin, it is referred to as gingival plaque. So this figure shows the supragingival plaque. It is stained with a disclosing agent. So supragingival, whenever supragingival plaque is present at the margin, then it is called as marginal gingiva, marginal plaque. So subgingival plaque. So subgingival plaque is usually found below the gingival margin between the tooth surface and the gingival circular tip. So this figure shows the plaque. This plaque is present on the tooth surface and between your gingival or periodontal circular tissue. This is called as subgingival plaque. So this figure shows the uh, three types of subgingival plaque, that is tooth attached plaque, unattached plaque, or epithelial or tissue attached plaque. So tooth attached plaque, this plaque is usually present on the tooth surface. This plaque, mainly the bacteria present here are gram-positive rods and cocci. Whereas unattached plaque, it is present in between your tooth associated and tissue associated plaque. So this is present in between. Unattached plaque is present in between or over the tooth associated plaque. And third one is epithelial associated or tissue associated plaque. This plaque is usually present on your inner surface of your circular epithelium. So whatever circular epithelium is present, this tooth associated plaque is present on this epithelium. Sometimes when this tissue associated plaque also penetrates into your connective tissue. So this is the plaque where bacteria have invaded the connective tissue, and some bacteria are also may present on the surface of your bone. So it means that there is the destruction of your alveolar bone as the disease progresses. So tooth associated subgingival plaque, usually the bacteria present are gram positive rods and cocci. Then this tooth associated plaque does not extend to your junctional epithelium. It is away from your junctional epithelium. Usually the tooth associated plaque, more amount of calculus is found, and this plaque is mainly responsible for the root caries formation. So tooth associated plaque, usually root caries and calculus formation occurs, and this bacteria may also penetrate your cementum. So unattached plaque, usually the bacteria present are gram-negative rods and filaments and various spirochetes. This unattached plaque may or may not extend to your junctional epithelium, and usually this converts into your gingivitis. So whatever tissue is inflamed This is mainly due to unattached plaque and tissue attached plaque. Whatever changes you are seeing in whatever clinical features you are seeing in patients with gingivitis and periodontitis, these changes are mainly due to unattached plaque and tissue associated plaque. Then coming to tissue associated subgingival plaque, variables both gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria may invade, but predominantly gram-negative bacteria are present. This plaque usually extends to your junctional epithelium. So, whenever it extends to your junctional epithelium, your gingivitis is converted into your periodontitis. So, this leads to the progression of gingivitis into periodontitis. So, whenever tissue-associated plaque converts into, and this tissue associated plaque may penetrate the epithelium as well as your connective tissue of your gingiva. So now coming to composition, what ingredients are present in your dental plaque? So dental plaque is mainly composed of intercellular matrix and microorganisms. So dental plaque is composed primarily of microorganisms. These microorganisms exist within an intracellular matrix. That is, now coming to the term biofilm. Nowadays, dental plaque, instead of dental plaque, we are using the term biofilm. So biofilm is nothing but it describes the relative indefinable microbial community associated with a tooth surface or any hard tissue or non-shedding material. So biofilm is nothing but relatively indefinable microbial community. So it is nothing but it is a microbial community associated with a tooth surface or any hard or non-shedding surface in your oral cavity or any uh, with oral cavity or any type of hard tissue. So it is called as biofilm. So biofilm usually consists of one or more communities of microorganisms embedded in a glycocalyx that are attached to your solid surfaces. So this is the term or definition of biofilm according to Fosterton et al. In 1994. So he is the author who said that biofilm consists of one or more communities of microorganisms embedded in a glycocalyx that are attached to a solid surfaces. So intercellular matrix, so composition of is intercellular matrix and microorganism. So intercellular matrix, this usually consists of host cells such as epithelial cells, macrophages and defense cells, that is leukocytes. So intercellular matrix usually forms about 20 to 30% of your plaque mass, whereas 70% is usually found, 70 to 80% is found by your microorganisms. So most of the uh, composition of dental plaque is found by microorganisms. So intercellular matrix is again classified into organic material and inorganic material. So organic material like various carbohydrates, that is polysaccharides, constitutes about 30%. These are produced by bacteria. So the polysaccharide produced by bacteria is dextran. Also various proteins are present, that is albumin. Albumin is mainly originated from your gingival cranicular fluid. And various glycoproteins, these glycoproteins are usually present in saliva. So they are usually derived from saliva, and various lipids, that is consist of debris from disrupted bacteria, host cell and food debris. So this is the organic composition of your dental plaque. It is then coming to inorganic composition of dental plaque. So dental plaque usually inorganic material present usually are calcium, sodium, phosphate, potassium and fluorides in traces. Source of inorganic material in supragingival is source of inorganic material. So whatever inorganic material is seen in supragingival, it is mainly derived from your saliva, whereas source of inorganic material in subgingival plaque is mainly from your GCF. So inorganic material is obtained from both saliva as well as GCF. Whenever it is obtained from saliva, it mainly contributes in your supragingival plaque formation, and wherever it is obtained from GCF, then it contributes in the formation of your subgingival plaque. Then exopolysaccharides. So these exopolysaccharides usually are present in your biofilm. So these exopolysaccharides are considered as the backbone of your biofilm. So the bulk, whatever bulk of biofilm usually consists of matrix, predominantly of water and your aqueous solute. So what is the importance of your uh, exopolysaccharides? So what are the main functions of, so exopolysaccharides, they maintain the integrity and protecting microbial cells within the biofilm by preventing the desiccation and attack by harmful agents. So exopolysaccharides is considered as the backbone because it maintains the integrity and it usually protects the bacterial cell wall. These exopolysaccharides also binds essential nutrients such as cations to create a nutritionally rich environment favoring specific microorganisms. These exopolysaccharides usually creates a environment that is most favorable for your microorganisms. Also, the third function of your exopolysaccharides, they act as a buffer and assist in retaining extracellular enzymes. Okay. So these exopolysaccharides also acts as a buffer and they assist in retaining extracellular enzymes. So according to Soprinski, it is said that 1 gram of plaque usually contains approximately 2 into 10 raised to the power 10 raised to power 11 bacteria. So this much amount of bacteria are present in 1 gram of your dental plaque. 2 into 10 to the power 11. So this study was done by Soprinski and Struder. Then, in addition to this composition, there are some non-bacterial organisms present in the plaque. So these usually are yeast. There may be some viruses, then some amount of protozoa are present, and some mycoplasma specific. So these microorganisms usually are non-bacterial organisms that are present in your plaque. So now coming to how dental plaque is formed. So dental plaque is nothing but it is formed mainly by, so dental plaque may be easily visible on teeth after 1 to 2 days of no oral hygiene. Whenever patient or whenever uh, somebody doesn't perform oral hygiene procedures, then the dental plaque gets visualized in 1 or 2 days after no hygiene. So this dental plaque, the formation of dental plaque takes place into 3 steps. First is formation of dental pellicle. So to form dental plaque, there is essential. It is said that your dental pellicle should be formed to get converted into your dental plaque. The first stage is formation of your dental pellicle. Second one is initial adhesion and attachment, and third one is colonization and plaque maturation. So first is formation of dental pellicle. So acquired pellicle may be defined as a homogeneous, membranous, cellular film that covers the tooth surface and frequently forms the interface between the tooth and the dental plaque and calculus. So acquired pellicle is usually homogeneous, a cellular film. It is not organized, it is unorganized membrane that covers the tooth surface and forms the interface between your dental plaque and your calculus. So fully established pellicle is found within 30 minutes. Whenever you have done performed your oral hygiene procedures, that is brushing. So after within 30 minutes, the formation of your acquired pellicle occurs, and within 24 hours, the pellicle is around 0.1 to 0.8 micrometer in diameter. So this much layer or thickness of acquired pellicle is obtained within your 24 hours. So this is the reason why we advise to perform daily twice brushing, because within 24 hours there is acquired pellicle is formed. A sufficient amount of acquired pellicle layer is formed on the tooth surface. This acquired pellicle usually is derived from the components of saliva and your GCF. So whatever acquired pellicle is formed, this is usually obtained from your saliva, whatever glycoproteins are present in your saliva, and also from your gingival clavicular fluid, also various bacterial and host tissue products and food debris. So this acquired pellicle is formed. This acquired pellicle usually consists of various types of glycoproteins. So these glycoproteins are maybe mucins, it may be protein-rich proteins, phosphoproteins, histidine-like histidine-rich proteins, various types of enzymes, that is alpha amylase, and another molecules that can function as adhesion sites for bacterial receptors. So, what is the function or more important of a dental pellicle? So, acquired pellicle, what is the importance? Why acquired pellicle should get formed on your tooth surface? So, this acquired pellicle usually acts as a protective barrier. So, this acts as a protective barrier for your microorganism. Then, second one is lubrication. Then, with the help of this acquired pellicle, this prevents your tissue desiccation, because this tissue, whatever tissue is present, that is tooth surface, requires desiccation and substrate to which bacteria gets attached. So acquired pellicle is the surface that is easily the bacteria gets attached to that surface. Second step is initial adhesion and attachment of bacteria. So various authors have given various mechanisms how these bacteria get attached to your acquired pellicle. So some authors says that they get transported to the surface, then there is initial adhesion, then there is attachment, then there is colonization of surface and biofilm formation. This place, so transport of surface takes place by various random contacts occurs. The first stage involves the initial transport of the bacterium to the tooth surface, that is to the acquired pellicle. So this movement usually occurs by various types of motions, that is random contacts occurs by Brownian motion, sedimentation of microorganisms, liquid flow, or active bacterial movement, that is chemotactic activity. So these bacteria usually travel or they have movement towards the acquired pellicle by various modes. That is, it may be Brownian motion, sedimentation of microorganisms, liquid flow through GCF and saliva, and active bacterial movements. Then second step is initial adhesion. So there is an initial irreversible adhesion of uh, bacterium to the acquired pellicle or your tooth surface. So initially this adhesion is reversible. So it is initiated by interaction between the bacteria and the tooth surface from a distance of 50 nanometer through long range and short range forces. These forces are called as van der Waals forces and electrostatic forces. Okay. So whenever bacteria uh, transports to the tooth surface, there is interaction between the bacteria and the tooth surface. The distance should be about, whenever the bacteria reaches to about 50 nanometer, then through various forces, these bacteria are attracted towards the tooth surface through van der Waals attractive forces and electrostatic forces. Also, there is, while going through this, you will come across total skip energy. So this is energy is nothing but it is the interaction of the bacteria and your tooth surface. So Gibbs total energy is Ga plus attractive plus electrostatic force. So initial adhesion gives total energy consists of secondary minimum, positive maximum, and stick primary minimum. So this is nothing but it is the various systems that causes adhesion of your bacteria. Then third step is attachment. So after initial attachment, so that is reversible. A firm anchorage between your bacteria and the tooth will be established by specific interactions, that is covalent bonding. So bonding occurs. So this step is irreversible step. Whenever bonding occurs, so it is a reversible step, whereas initial adhesion was somewhat reversible. But whenever bacteria uh, initial adhesion, a firm anchorage between the bacteria and the tooth surface will be established by specific interactions. So this may be a covalent bond, ionic bond, or hydrogen bonding. The bonding between the bacteria and the pellicle is mediated by specific extracellular components of organisms and complementary receptors on the pellicle surface. Whatever receptors are present on pellicle surface, so these receptors usually uh, are present on pellicle to which the bacteria gets attached through via extracellular components. That is, glycoproteins are mainly responsible for attachment of bacteria to your acquired pellicle.